Strong women control three things: their mind, mouth, and money. Speech intro. Strong women control three things: their mind, mouth, and money. There is a force quietly rising, not loud, not boastful, but unshakable. She walks into a room, and without saying a word, her presence speaks volumes. Not because of her appearance, her status, or her possessions, but because she governs the three realms that rule reality itself: her mind, her mouth, and her money. A strong woman understands that power begins within. She is not shaped by the chaos of the world. She shapes the world by mastering herself. Her thoughts are not random, they are intentional. Her words are not careless, they are coded with vision. And her finances are not left to chance, they are an expression of her value, strategy, and trust in divine law. This is not about domination, but about inner dominion. She doesn't seek to control others, she controls herself, and in doing so, bends the circumstances of life to obey the authority of her inner conviction. Let others chase approval, validation, or control. The strong woman knows the only things worth mastering are the mind, the mouth, and the money. When she owns these, she owns her world. Mastering the mind, a strong woman's hidden throne of power. The first realm a strong woman must conquer is her own mind, for it is the invisible throne from which all reality flows. Everything she sees, feels, attracts, or repels in the outer world is first conceived and accepted in the inner sanctum of her thoughts. There are no accidents in her experience, only reflections of what she has entertained persistently in the silence of her mind. A strong woman understands that she is not the victim of circumstances, but the architect of them. Her life is not dictated by what others think, say, or do. It is shaped by what she inwardly accepts as true. The mind is not simply a place for thoughts to pass through. It is a womb, and what she consistently thinks upon is being formed into substance. She does not wait to see a thing in the world to believe it. She believes it in her mind first, and the world is forced to echo it. Every time she chooses focus over fear, intention over impulse, and truth over doubt, she strengthens her dominion. She does not allow her mind to drift like a leaf in the wind. She disciplines it, watches it, renews it, and fills it with the visions of what she knows she is destined for. The weak woman reacts, the strong woman imagines. The weak woman complains, the strong woman assumes, and while the weak chase validation, the strong woman creates her inner world with clarity, knowing it is only a matter of time before it must be made manifest. A strong woman is not merely intelligent, she is conscious. She watches the quiet thoughts that others ignore. She is aware of the subtle self-talk that can either elevate or destroy her. She knows that to entertain fear is to plant fear, and to dwell on lack is to summon more of it. So she guards her mind like a sacred temple. Not every opinion is allowed entry. Not every memory deserves her attention. She refuses to let the past hijack her future. She knows that what she mentally dwells on becomes a blueprint. So she takes full responsibility for what she imagines, what she visualizes, and what she accepts as possible. Her strength is not found in external control, but in inner command. She doesn't beg for peace, she cultivates it through mental discipline. She doesn't hope for success, she sees it in her mind and walks boldly toward it with unwavering confidence. This mastery of mind isn't arrogance, it's alignment. A strong woman is deeply aligned with the truth that thoughts are seeds and feelings are water. Whatever she feeds repeatedly with thought and emotion will grow. So she is selective about the images she permits to dwell within her. She does not visualize failure, betrayal, or poverty. She sees herself loved, powerful, secure, and supported. And when contrary voices rise, whether within or without, she returns to the inner sanctuary of her vision, the place where all power resides. This isn't delusion, it's creation. She knows the outer is always the echo, never the cause. To change her life, she first changes her inner talk. She doesn't wait for the world to approve of her worth, she assumes it. She doesn't chase outcomes, she mentally occupies the state of already having it, and life arranges itself to match her inner atmosphere. A strong woman lives in the end. She does not look at present conditions and shrink in doubt. She looks within and holds firm to what she knows is hers. She understands that faith is not passive, it is the bold act of living mentally from a place that hasn't yet appeared. When others say be realistic, she smiles quietly because she knows the mind creates what it believes to be real, so she no longer argues with the old world. She creates a new one within and lets the law of life do the rest. Her imagination is her map, her focus is her compass, her trust is her foundation. The world may call her stubborn, but she knows the mind must not bow to the external, it must lead it. She does not submit to doubt. She stands in the unseen, claiming what is hers until it becomes what is seen. She also knows that the mind can be a battlefield if left unchecked, so she trains herself to be still in chaos, to observe without being pulled, to reset without reacting. When fear creeps in, she replaces it with truth. When anxiety rises, she counters it with assurance. When voices of lack or unworthiness attempt to creep in, she silences them with bold declarations of identity. I am whole. I am powerful. I am supported. I am more than enough. She doesn't wait for circumstances to improve herself. Perception, she declares who she is and lets the world follow her lead. The strong woman doesn't just survive the storm, she commands her inner weather, knowing the storm must obey the state of her mind. Her emotions may fluctuate, but her mental vision remains fixed. She knows who she is, where she is going, and what belongs to her, and no voice of doubt can uproot a woman who has planted herself deeply in truth. This woman, the strong one, is not distracted by noise. She is not seduced by every opportunity or triggered by every comment. Her power lies in her ability to stay focused. She knows the world will throw images of fear, limitation, and scarcity, but she doesn't consume everything she sees. She doesn't scroll mindlessly, absorb opinions recklessly, or compare endlessly. She curates her mind the way a queen curates her palace. Only thoughts that align with her vision are allowed to stay. And when she notices an old pattern rising of fear, a limiting belief, a trauma, she doesn't panic. She breathes, observes, and chooses again. That's her secret. She always chooses again. Where others spiral, she recenters. Where others give in, she grounds herself, because she knows control of the mind is control of the life. In a world obsessed with external validation, the strong woman has turned inward. She's not controlled by the opinions of others because she has chosen the opinion of herself. Her mind is her kingdom, and she rules it with intention, clarity, and grace. She doesn't fear the unknown, she welcomes it, knowing that her inner world is the magnet that draws the right things, the right people, and the right outcomes to her. She is calm in storms because the storm cannot reach her center. She is steady in uncertainty because her faith is not in things, it's in her power to align, imagine, and assume. She has learned the greatest truth. When a woman controls her mind, she is unstoppable because her world is no longer a reaction, but a reflection, and that, above all, is the beginning of unshakable strength. The power of her mouth. A strong woman speaks only what she wants to manifest. A strong woman knows that her words are not mere sounds carried on breath. They are decrees, commands, and sacred affirmations that shape the very fabric of her life. Her mouth is not just for conversation, it is the instrument of creation. She understands this spiritual law, speak not what is, but what is willed. She does not casually speak problems into existence by voicing her fears, doubts, or complaints. Instead, she aligns her mouth with the vision held in her mind. For her, the mouth must serve the mind, not betray it. Words are never idle. They either bless or curse, build or break, align or repel. A strong woman disciplines her speech because she knows every word she utters is either planting a seed or uprooting one. She does not speak from her circumstances, she speaks from her conviction. The power of her mouth is not in volume or persuasion, it is in purity and purpose. She uses her voice not to describe the chaos, but to declare her order. She is not moved to speak out of fear or insecurity. She speaks when the words are rooted in truth, clarity, and vision. She is aware that the words spoken in emotion are the most powerful of all. So she chooses wisely. She does not lash out in anger, for she knows emotional speech creates rapid results. She does not entertain sarcasm, gossip, or bitterness, because these lower vibrations corrupt her manifestation power. She does not repeat complaints about lack, betrayal, or delay, for she knows the universe does not filter her speech, it fulfills it. Her voice is her wand, and her words are her spells. Every sentence she speaks casts a ripple into the unseen realm, calling back experiences that match the tone and content of her language. So she is slow to speak and quick to reflect. She asks herself, do these words reflect the woman I am becoming, or do they anchor me to the woman I've outgrown? She does not speak to be heard. She speaks to align. She does not speak for reaction. She speaks to create. A strong woman speaks life. Even in moments of challenge, she refuses to declare defeat. She may acknowledge pain, but she never identifies with it. She may be in a storm, but she won't say, I am drowning. Instead, she says, I am growing, I am rising, I am learning. She does not use her mouth to reinforce what she wants to leave behind. She knows that to declare, I am broke, is to chain herself to lack. To say, no one loves me, is to blind herself to love. But to declare, I am worthy, I am abundant, I am chosen, even before it's visible, is to set in motion the very essence of those realities. Her strength is in her ability to speak what she sees internally until it becomes external. She is not waiting for evidence to back her claims. Her words are the evidence. She chooses her declarations not based on what's happening, but based on what she is manifesting. Her speech is always ahead of her reality because her speech is what builds it. She also understands the art of silence. A strong woman does not waste her breath in battles not worth fighting. She does not argue with ignorance, debate with opposition, or explain herself endlessly to misunderstanding. She knows the energy behind her words must be sacred. She speaks when it lifts, leads, or liberates. If not, she holds her peace because silence is also power. She does not need to be right. She needs to be aligned. She does not need to prove herself. She needs to preserve herself. Her restraint is not weakness. It is divine strategy. She knows that some things are better transmuted through stillness than through speech. When emotions are high and chaos swirls around her, she returns to her inner temple and speaks only to her soul. She whispers truths the world cannot hear. All is well. I am safe. I am powerful. I am not shaken. And from that place of inner grounding, when she speaks again, her words carry weight, authority, and direction. The strong woman is deliberate with language, even in how she speaks to others. She affirms the greatness in others because she knows it strengthens her own. She blesses even those who misunderstand her, for she will not curse her own path through bitterness. She encourages, uplifts, and speaks truth, but never flatters, manipulates, or deceives. She understands that the tongue has the power of life and death, and she chooses life every single time. Whether in relationships, business, family, or faith, she uses her words as instruments of intention. When she speaks to her children, she plants seeds of identity. When she speaks to her partner, she waters love and respect. When she speaks over her business, she speaks expansion, overflow, and increase. And when she speaks to herself, alone, in the dark, in the doubt, she declares the truth that heaven agrees with, even when earth has yet to show it. She also knows that the most powerful words are those spoken in private. The affirmations she whispers before bed, the declarations she repeats in the mirror, the prayers she speaks in stillness, these are the words that bend reality. She does not need a stage or audience to use her power. She can shift her entire destiny from a place of solitude. She speaks, I am, not as a wish but as a law. I am peace. I am success. I am divine. She repeats these not to convince herself, but to align herself. Over time, her words become the atmosphere she lives in. People say she's lucky, radiant, magnetic. But what they don't see is the work she's done in mastering her mouth. She has learned the art of speaking with heaven while standing in the middle of hell. That's her strength. She is unshaken because her voice has already declared victory. There is no confusion in her speech. She doesn't say, I want it, one day, and I doubt it, the next. Her words do not contradict her faith. She doesn't say it's hard when she's been declaring it is done. Her tongue follows her mind, and her mind follows her vision. This harmony is what makes her powerful, while others curse themselves unknowingly with words like I can't. It's too late. or I never get a break. She speaks in a higher tongue. I can, now is the time. Everything is working for my good. She doesn't speak problems. She speaks prophecy. She doesn't echo reality. She declares destiny. In a world of noise, a strong woman's voice carries clarity. Not because she yells, but because her words are born of alignment. Her mouth is no longer a tool for expression. It is an altar of creation. Every word is sacred, every sentence strategic. She does not speak to survive. She speaks to summon. And everything she speaks, she eventually sees, not because she's lucky, but because she has mastered the law. She has tamed the most rebellious member of the body, the tongue, and in doing so, she has gained dominion over the unfolding of her world. Her mouth does not betray her destiny, it builds it, one word at a time. Money obeys the woman who knows her worth. A strong woman understands that money is not just currency, it is consciousness. It is not random, neutral, or elusive. It is obedient to belief. It flows not to the one who hustles hardest or screams loudest, but to the one who knows she is worthy to receive. A woman who has mastered her relationship with money has not only shifted her habits, she has shifted her identity. She no longer chases abundance, she becomes abundance. She does not look to money as her provider. She sees herself as the channel through which all provision flows. She understands that her self-worth is her net worth, and the moment she begins to think in alignment with wealth, wealth begins to respond. Money is energy, and energy moves in the direction of focus and faith. The strong woman no longer attaches money to struggle, shame, or sacrifice. She no longer believes that riches are reserved for someone smarter, more privileged, or more favored. She has awakened to this truth. Money responds to self-concept. And because she sees herself as valuable, money sees her as magnetic. She is not obsessed with the dollar. She is in harmony with divine provision. She respects money not for status, but for the freedom it grants her to live, give, and create without fear. She does not fear money leaving, because she knows her source is not the job, the economy, or another person. Her source is within. And because that source is limitless, so too is her capacity to receive. She does not speak lack. She does not say, I can't afford that, or money always slips away. Those are declarations of poverty, and she has dethroned poverty from her vocabulary. Instead, she says, money comes to me freely and frequently. I am open to receiving more than enough. I live in overflow. These are not pretty affirmations. They are energetic permissions. The moment she speaks them with belief, the universe begins rearranging itself to mirror her inner climate. People, opportunities, insights, and ideas appear, not by coincidence, but by command. The strong woman does not hoard money out of fear, nor does she waste it out of insecurity. She handles it with wisdom, clarity, and calm. She pays her bills with a heart of gratitude, knowing that every transaction is proof of provision. She invests in herself not as an expense, but as a declaration of belief. Whether it's education, healing, or mentorship, she sees every dollar spent on her growth as a seed that must return multiplied. She does not shrink in fear when prices rise, nor does she complain when unexpected costs appear. She does not speak scarcity, she speaks sustainability, and through that steadiness money remains loyal to her. The strong woman also knows that wealth is not just about accumulation. It's about circulation. So she gives, not out of guilt, but out of overflow. She sows into lives, causes, and communities because she knows the law. What you give, you receive. She does not give from lack, but from the abundance that she has already claimed in spirit. And because she is generous in spirit, money flows back to her in unexpected, unexplainable ways. She is not distracted by the glitter of wealth without substance. Her relationship with money is not performative, it is purposeful. She doesn't need to prove her wealth, she needs to live her truth, so she stops comparing, she stops competing, she stops measuring her value by what she owns, and instead measures it by who she is. Because of this inner peace, she makes sound decisions. She is not seduced by instant gratification, nor is she paralyzed by fear of risk. She moves with strategy, intention, and trust. She builds, saves, expands, and creates, not out of desperation, but out of vision. Her money multiplies because her mindset multiplies. Her bank account is not a reflection of the economy. It is a reflection of her inner economy. She does not need to see wealth to believe in it. She believes in it and therefore begins to see it. The strong woman is not afraid to speak about money. She does not adopt the false humility that says wanting more is selfish. She knows that having more does not make her greedy. It makes her equipped. Equipped to help, to build, to serve, to free herself and others. She refuses to apologize for desiring overflow. She refuses to feel guilty for wanting ease. She no longer associates struggle with virtue. She chooses grace. She chooses wisdom. She chooses wealth with integrity, and because she chooses it in her mind, her world aligns to support that choice. Money begins to find her through channels she couldn't have imagined. Jobs, businesses, ideas, promotions, partnerships, all of it begins to unfold not because she begs, but because she believes. She has also forgiven money. She no longer holds resentment toward it, nor toward those who have it. She does not hate the rich or judge the successful. She blesses what she wants because blessing it brings it closer. She no longer repeats generational narratives like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are selfish, or you have to work yourself to death to survive. She has broken those mental chains. She has rewritten the code. Her new belief is simple. Money supports me because I support my worth. And that belief changes everything, because when money senses a woman who is not afraid of it, not desperate for it, not resentful toward it, it stays. This strength doesn't come from luck. It comes from mental reconditioning. Day after day, she has trained herself to expect good, to expect ease, to expect more than enough. She celebrates money, even in small amounts. She treats every dollar with reverence. She gives thanks before it arrives, and she remains grateful after it's spent. Her financial rituals are sacred, tracking, affirming, tithing, expanding, visualizing. She is no longer the woman who avoids looking at her bank account out of fear. She faces it with boldness because she knows what she sees is only a snapshot, not the full picture, and that picture is ever changing based on what she believes and expects. She does not worry, she prepares, she does not stress, she aligns. A strong woman commands her money by commanding herself. She is not mastered by urgency or desperation. She does not sell herself short in business, in salary negotiations, or in pricing her worth. She knows the value she brings and she stands by it. She walks away from deals that dishonor her. She chooses clients, partners, and environments that reflect her new financial standard. She doesn't beg for better, she expects it. Her financial standards are non-negotiable, not because she's arrogant, but because she is aligned, and alignment always attracts provision. In the end, it is not about the money, it's about the woman she becomes in relationship to it. A woman who knows that all things are added unto her when she walks in her divine identity, when she knows she's chosen, favored, and worthy, not just spiritually but practically. Her bank account follows her self-perception. Her income follows her inner expansion, her lifestyle follows her beliefs, and because she believes she is a blessing, she lives in the blessing, not someday but now, not through striving but through alignment. She is the proof that when a woman controls her mind, her mouth, and her money, there is nothing in this world she cannot manifest. She who holds her peace holds her power. There is a rare kind of woman who no longer reacts to every insult, every delay, every unexpected twist in life. And that woman is powerful beyond words. She has discovered the strength of silence and the unmatched clarity that flows from holding her peace. In a world that constantly pressures women to prove, to fight, to explain, to overextend, she has chosen a different path. She does not raise her voice to be heard because her presence already speaks. She does not rush to defend herself because she knows who she is. Her silence is not weakness, it is mastery. When chaos erupts around her, she does not respond in panic. She breathes, she watches, she listens. She understands that reaction is a loss of spiritual authority, and she is too sovereign to surrender her power for momentary emotional release. A strong woman who has mastered her inner calm becomes unshakable, not because storms don't come, but because she has become the storm's center, the eye of peace that governs every swirling force around her. This kind of woman doesn't respond to every false accusation or petty provocation. She doesn't explain her vision to those who are committed to misunderstanding her. She knows that energy is currency, and she refuses to spend it on what drains her or keeps her stuck in old patterns of emotional warfare. She no longer lives on the edge of reaction. She lives in the stillness of spiritual alignment. When others lash out, she doesn't mirror their rage. She remains grounded in truth. She has learned that silence is often louder than 1,000 arguments. It says, I no longer need your validation. I no longer need to win. I only need to remain true to my higher self. The woman who holds her peace is the woman who reigns because she is no longer ruled by the opinions, chaos, or dysfunction of others. Her life is no longer dictated by external triggers. It is governed by internal truth. To hold peace is to be deeply secure. It is to no longer be moved by delay, rejection, or misunderstanding. This doesn't mean she feels nothing. It means she chooses not to let temporary emotion sabotage her eternal assignment. A strong woman has trained herself to recognize the difference between truth and noise, between spirit and ego. She knows when to speak and when to stay still, when to release and when to wait. She doesn't panic when things appear uncertain, because her peace is not based on appearances. It's rooted in alignment. Her calm is not passivity, it is power restrained, it is divine discipline. It is the wisdom to pause when others react, the strength to withhold when others explode, and the spiritual intelligence to remember, just because it demands your reaction doesn't mean it deserves your response. She is deeply selective about what enters her mental and emotional space. She doesn't entertain gossip, drama, or confusion because these disrupt her vibration. She doesn't need to clap back, retaliate, or expose anyone. Her silence speaks on her behalf. Her fruit speaks for her future. The strong woman has come to know that vengeance belongs not to her mouth, but to the divine. She does not fight with the weapons of this world. She uses presence, prayer, peace, and perspective. And that terrifies people who rely on chaos for control. Her silence exposes their noise. Her restraint reveals their instability. Her dignity is a mirror that forces others to confront their own lack of self-control. But she doesn't do it for applause. She does it because she has evolved. This peace is not natural, it is cultivated. It is the result of deep spiritual work, of sitting with her triggers, of healing the wounds that once demanded defense. She has forgiven the people who tried to break her and released the need to prove anything to anyone. She no longer needs to shout her worth or argue her place. She knows that what's meant for her will not pass her by, and that no lie spoken against her can cancel the truth rising within her. She has become a vessel of peace, not by accident, but by transformation. She has wept, waited, surrendered, and stood still long enough to learn that stillness is a strategy. Her battles are now fought in the invisible, through faith, vision, and trust. And the victories she wins in silence are louder than any war fought with noise. The strong woman has broken free from the need for instant closure or constant control. She doesn't need every situation resolved on her timeline. She doesn't force answers, she doesn't rush outcomes. Her peace comes from knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Delays are not denials, setbacks are setups. She no longer interprets silence from others as rejection. It's just redirection. And her inner compass is no longer dictated by emotional highs or lows, but by deep spiritual certainty. She knows that rushing to fix everything is a trauma response, and she has traded urgency for trust. She waits with grace, she moves with wisdom, she speaks with precision, and when she is silent, she is not absent, she is aligned. A woman who holds her peace also reclaims her time. She no longer wastes days reliving conversations in her mind, replaying offenses, or rehearsing comebacks. She lets it go. She values her energy too much to stay stuck in mental arguments with people who cannot see her. She is building, expanding, healing, and manifesting. She has better things to do than argue with the past. She wakes up in peace, carries peace into her work, and speaks peace over her future. She blesses her enemies without needing to confront them. She forgives not to excuse the offense, but to free her own spirit. Her peace is not passive, it's a weapon. It shields her from manipulation, from anxiety, from the toxicity of reactive living. There is divine elegance in the woman who walks in silence when others expect noise. She becomes unpredictable in the best way. The world expects her to fall apart, but she rebuilds. They expect her to lash out, but she listens. They try to stir drama, but she declines the invitation. And in that refusal, she reclaims the stage of her life and decides who gets access to her energy. She is not for everyone, and that no longer offends her. Her peace has cost her too much to be cheap with it now. She no longer engages to feel important. She disengages to stay powerful. She does not need to be seen to be strong. She does not need to be heard to be effective. She is a woman who has mastered the rare art of holding her peace, and because of that she holds her power. She has learned that silence is not the absence of action. It is the beginning of transformation. It is the soil in which clarity grows, vision strengthens, and wisdom blossoms. In silence she hears divine instruction. In stillness she receives strength. While others crumble in confusion, she is rebuilding in private, and when she speaks again, the world will know this is a woman who did not lose her mind, her voice, or her identity. She reclaimed them all in the sacred power of peace. She may not be loud, but she is heard. She may not be seen, but she is felt. She may not respond, but she is always in control. For the woman who holds her peace holds everything. She lives from the end. A strong woman assumes it's already done. There comes a shift in a woman's life when she stops asking the world for permission to believe in her dream and starts living from the conviction that it's already done. This is the rare frequency of the strong woman. She no longer hopes, wishes, or waits in doubt. She assumes. She no longer looks outside herself for validation or timing. She closes her eyes, sees the vision in vivid detail, and walks through the world as though it's already hers. She doesn't try to get there, she lives from there. She understands that assumption is not fantasy, it is faith in motion. She doesn't mentally beg for the outcome she desires. She becomes the woman who already has it and moves in that energy. And because she chooses to live from the end rather than toward it, life begins to yield to her posture. Doors open, people appear, opportunities align, not because of force, but because her inner world has already arrived. The strong woman doesn't create from desperation. She creates from decision. She knows who she is, and she acts as though it's already real. This way of living requires fierce mental discipline. Most live by sight, reacting to what they see and letting current conditions dictate their emotions. But the strong woman lives by inner vision. She doesn't deny reality. She transcends it. She recognizes the facts, but she doesn't worship them. She may have a bank account that says not yet, a diagnosis that says impossible, or a situation that screams it's over. But she goes within and assumes the opposite. She lives from the healed body, the overflowing account, the restored relationship, the fulfilled purpose, not someday, but now in consciousness, and this assumption isn't passive. It informs everything she does. Her tone changes, her decisions change, her energy changes. She no longer moves in hesitation, anxiety, or fear because her inner world has already accepted it as done. The world may call it delusion, but she calls it alignment. Because eventually what she lives from must show up. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. She wakes up each day not asking, will it happen, but declaring it is done. She walks into rooms with the certainty of someone who has nothing to prove, because the outcome is already settled within her. She doesn't chase opportunities. She attracts them by living in the frequency of already having. And because she lives in that frequency, she refuses to settle. She doesn't beg for breadcrumbs when she knows she is seated at the banquet table. She walks away from anything that contradicts her assumption, not out of arrogance, but out of deep knowing. She doesn't waste time negotiating with the old version of herself, because that version no longer exists. She has been reborn in her mind as the woman who already possesses what others are still hoping to earn. And the universe responds not to her words alone, but to her state. Her assumption is her permission, her energy is her signature, her unwavering conviction is her golden key. A strong woman knows that to live from the end is to choose the end result and dwell in it emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. She takes her attention off of how and focuses entirely on who. Who must I become to live in this new reality? What decisions would she make? How would she dress, speak, and carry herself? She doesn't wait for the manifestation to upgrade her identity. She upgrades her identity to meet the manifestation. She walks like the woman who already received the phone call, signed the contract, met the partner, launched the business, or received the miracle. And because she has done so internally, everything external begins to mold itself to match her inner expectation. She doesn't hope for change, she becomes change. She doesn't strive, she aligns. She's not afraid to look crazy. To those who don't understand the power of living from the end, she smiles when others question her confidence, her joy, her bold declarations. Because they don't see what she sees, they don't feel what she feels, they don't know what she knows. Her life may not have caught up yet, but her soul already has. Her emotions are not tied to delay, because delay does not exist in the realm she lives in. She's already there, and from that elevated space she speaks differently. She doesn't say, I hope it works out. She says, thank you that it's already working. She doesn't say, I'm trying to make it happen. She says, it's already mine. Her prayers aren't desperate cries. They are declarations of gratitude. She gives thanks in advance, because gratitude is the evidence of belief, and belief is the beginning of all manifestation. Living from the end has also taught her not to fight what doesn't align. If something feels off, she doesn't force it. If someone doesn't match her new state, she releases them with grace. If a situation seems contrary, she doesn't panic. She pivots inward. Her power is not in controlling the outer world, it's in mastering her inner state. Because her state is the cause, and the world is the effect. She no longer blames others, circumstances, or even timing. She knows it's all responding to her, so she takes responsibility, not out of guilt, but out of authority. She knows that when she shifts her state, she shifts her life, so she no longer begs life to change, she changes and life follows suit. This level of mental embodiment doesn't mean she never feels fear, doubt, or uncertainty. But she no longer worships those emotions. She feels them, honors them, and then returns to her assumption. She may cry, but she'll cry as a queen who knows her crown isn't slipping. She may question, but never for long, because the vision is too clear, too true, too alive within her. She has built a sanctuary in her imagination, and she retreats there daily. Not to escape, but to remember what is already hers, to remember who she already is, to remember that the end has already been decided, and she is merely catching up to what her spirit already knows. Her entire lifestyle reflects this trust. She doesn't panic about timelines, because divine timing is not delay, it's preparation. She doesn't obsess about who supports her, because she supports herself in the unseen. She doesn't compromise her standards, because she knows what she has already claimed is greater than anything she could settle for now. She is not moved by rejection, because rejection only removes what doesn't match the reality she's living from. She is not intimidated by competition, because what is hers cannot be stolen. She lives from the end, and in doing so, she walks in peace, in power, and in prophetic clarity. This woman doesn't just inspire, she manifests. Her life becomes a reflection of the assumption she refused to release. And when others ask, how did it happen for you? She'll answer, I became it before I saw it. That is the secret of strong women. They do not wait for the world to give them permission. They give themselves the role and live it fully. They don't try to earn the blessing. They accept it. They don't speak as if they're waiting. They speak as though it's done. And because of that it is, for the strong woman doesn't dream of the life she wants. She steps into it. She doesn't ask for proof. She becomes it. She doesn't try to believe. She assumes, and that assumption shifts everything.